Know this. Introducing the original blood clot podcast, not players. Soothing semantic. Special dedication. All the way from New York. Boom. Yeah, man. SWOT semantic. Yeah, me know. Boom. Soothing semantic. Yeah, me know. Big ups to the man now. Soothing semantic.
All right, welcome to another episode of the Soothing Semantics podcast. I am your host, Rafi Pinsky. Subscribe, make sure to subscribe. I know you guys are watching. Hit the subscribe button so you can see any new episodes that come available. Smash the like button, leave a comment. Without further ado, we have a former Keller Williams agent.
Yeah.
Who used to be part of my office.
Yeah. Okay,
and I see you do quite well.
Yeah, it's been
been
a good journey. Yeah,
I'm very happy to get into it. So Nick Sproul, it's Sproul.
Sproul.
Right? Okay.
Yep. Yeah. Most people say Sproul the first time, so appreciate that.
Sproul on the prowl.
Yeah, man.
All right, Mr. Sproul, welcome to the show. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, thanks for having me. You called me and said we had Lee Rosa, we had Ralph Goycoria on the podcast. I said, all right, fine. Stroke my ego. I'll come do it too.
You know David Baez, right?
I know of him. I don't know if we've actually met or not. I think I left the office before he got started over there.
What's going on, David Baez? David Baez is kind of a big deal.
Yeah, kind of like a big deal. We're definitely Facebook friends for sure, but I don't know if we haven't had the opportunity to do a deal yet. So soon enough, David Baez.
Yeah, he's good. He's good people. Check out the episode when you're driving. It's a great one.
For sure.
He talks about his whole journey. Hopefully we're going to do another deal soon.
Yeah.
We did one a couple of months back. I had a listing. He had a buyer.
That's perfect.
One day, dude. One day.
Yeah.
The offer, it was a great offer. It was cash over ask. Boom. My client was down. We did it. It was easy.
Yeah, that's how it works in this market, man. It's I think this is year 7 for me, and this is the most insane I've ever seen it. It's just, I mean, every interest rates have already, shot up by a couple points. And from what I've seen, the market hasn't really been too affected yet down here. Properties are still getting 20 offers,
It's wild, but we're seeing a lot more price reductions.
Yeah.
So I want to, before we get into the market, I just want to hear, I want the guests, the followers, the fans, to hear about your life story, right?
Yeah.
So you can go a little bit into your childhood if you want,
Yep.
and kind of just give us a scoop of how you got into real estate and how you went from working with a brokerage to opening your own.
Yeah, I grew up in South Florida, grew up in Pompano, and left. My childhood was a little wild. Both of my parents passed away when I was a teenager. My older sister kind of partially raised me. My grandparents raised me for about the second half of my childhood. Went off to school at Florida State and always kind of was just always up for a challenge. So when I was at Florida State, I went to school for marketing and management, and I chose marketing and management because I literally had no idea what I wanted to do, right? So business is broad, business is safe.
That's exactly what
business,
happened to me.
right?
I was going to do PT, and then I hated biology.
Yeah.
I liked the idea of it. It was very interesting in theory, but I hated lab and classes or whatever.
Yeah.
And I said, all right, this isn't for me. So I love working out, but the whole PT, I was like, I want to make more than $70K a year.
Yeah.
This isn't for me. I saw it long term. The short term, it sounded great. Long term, I was like, nah, I'm a business dude.
Yeah.
I need to be free to roam and whatever.
That's pretty smart of you to be able to see that long term. Most people, when you're in college, you're not thinking about 10 years from now. Most people, they're not thinking about that ceiling. So it's good that you saw that. And I honestly, like I said, I had no idea what I wanted to do. So business was broad enough. When I was a sophomore in college, I got recruited to this company that does door-to-door sales, 80 to 85 hours a week for 13 or 14 weeks straight over your summers. So this company was called Southwestern Advantage, right? So I'm a 19-year-old kid. I get recruited to go to a week-long sales school in Nashville, Tennessee, and then to go to a different part of the country. I set up my first summer in West Virginia. to go knock on doors 80 to 85 hours a week.
Damn, dude.
Which was insane. Like it was culture shock. I'm from South Florida. I'd never been to West Virginia or any place that's remotely rural, really. So I am a glutton for punishment. So I did that for 3 summers while I was in school. And I learned way more knocking on doors, doing door-to-door sales than I ever learned in my college career at Florida State, to be honest.
I'm not surprised at all.
Yeah,
I
mean, it's you're doing 30 demonstrations a day. So most people, like, how many sales jobs give you the opportunity to even do 30 demonstrations in a week? And you just kind of you get past rejection real easy at that point if you can finish that summer, right? So my 3rd summer doing that, I recruited a team of 7 other college kids to come out and sell with me and train them and manage them through the summer. And I will tell you, man, like, I realized at the end of that 3rd summer that I liked sales. I liked the game of sales and the ability to build something and just get paid for how hard you can work. But it was in that summer that I really realized that I love sales management too. And getting to see those people's lives get changed from finishing that program was more rewarding than the commission checks were for me. So I did that while I was in college, and then I was a little sales exhausted. So I took a complete left turn and went to Full Sail in Orlando for recording arts.
Wow. So you went a complete 180. Dude.
Yeah, man. That's why I was asking you, like, who edits your audio? Are you using Pro Tools or what? Because so I went to Full Sail and did audio engineering there.
Oh, so you actually have experience in this?
Yeah. So I had been producing music when I was in high school, when I was in college, DJing and producing. That was always the passion thing. So I was like, all right, I've done 3 years of sales. Like, I know I can get through this. Let me see if I can go try to do this music thing. So went to Full Sail, DJ'd a few nights a week, worked at a recording studio while I was there, finished that up and came back to South Florida to work in recording studios. Like, I came back to South Florida because there's not very many recording studios in Orlando. I worked at a couple different studios. When I got my real estate license, I was actually working for DJ Khaled at We the Best Studios in North Miami Beach.
Oh, so you were seeing him all the time?
Yeah. So I worked directly for him in the studio. Yeah.
Holy shit! So has that turned into anything real estate related?
I wish, man. I wish the relationships built there. I wish the relationships were better built there, and translated to more of that. But no, not really. Kind of what I realized while I was working nights there. Rappers only record at night, man. So it would be like, you get a call at 8:00 at night and they would be like, can you be at the studio in 30 minutes? Like, no warning, always having a schedule dictated by somebody else. And so I would have to just rush and be on the opposite schedule of my then girlfriend, now wife. And that's the way it was for a little bit. And I kind of realized over time, like, all right, if I stay in this role, this is something that my time is always going to be dictated here by somebody else, and my income's always going to be dictated by somebody else.
Well, you're not going to be the best. DJ Khaled's going to be the best.
Right, exactly. That's right. The we part is...
The we part's not in the
picture.
picture.
No, it's just he the best.
By the way, I love his new shit where he's like, they didn't believe in us, but God did. You know, he does that thing with his face, bro. It kills me. He does that everywhere now.
They didn't believe in us. God did. God did. They ain't believe in us. God did. Some boy have stone, and man like me have limestone. They ain't believe in us. God did. Life is like a flower. You have to take care of it, give it water, let it shine. You don't take care of it, they ain't believe in us. God did. Believe in us. God did.
He would, so like people would ask me like, was he really like that in person? Yes. Like he would gather a group of people together at the studio. Now, granted, he pulled up in a $500,000-$700,000 car, right? Like a Rolls Royce, and would be like, bro, they don't want us to eat. Like we hungry. And I'm like, well, you're not that hungry. No, it was great. Like he would like try to create those little pep talks for people.
He's very animated, that
Yeah,
guy.
man.
It does kind of, it's a little bit, it's very cringy. It's not a
Yeah.
little cringy. It's very cringy. But at the end of the day, it's not because I'm hating on him. Like,
Yeah.
it's not a hate thing. It's just more of, but it gets it done, man.
Yeah,
God did.
It has worked out very well for him.
It's hilarious.
But it wasn't working out for me, honestly, because
Okay.
it was working nights there. The only way I was ever going to move up there was if somebody else moved out of the position above me and somebody else moved out of the position above them, right? And I realized like I'm just not willing to wait for that. I'm not willing. There were things I was teaching the engineers above me, and yet, you know, I'm sitting here down at this level. They're right here, and my work ethic just wasn't of its highest and best use there, you know? So my mindset then was like, all right, I'm going to stay working here at night. Let's see where this goes. I'm going to get my real estate license because I miss sales, not because I was like, I love houses or architecture or, you know, I wasn't actually, a lot of agents I interview now to come join the brokerage are like, man, I've just always loved the idea of real estate. That wasn't me. I missed sales. I missed the ability to go after something and build it and get better and better at it every year.
So it wasn't necessarily real estate.
It wasn't. Okay. No, but I decided real estate just because I was like, all right, well, what's the biggest thing people buy and sell on a normal basis? And so I chose real estate thinking this is a side hustle, you know, and joined Keller Williams. That was the first brokerage I interviewed at a few different brokerages, but joined Keller Williams, and this is probably towards the end of 2015, I think. And shortly after being there, got recruited to RGT, working with Lee Rosa, Ralph Goicoria, Priscilla. Priscilla just texted me before I came in here. Shout out to Priscilla.
Shout out to you, Priscilla.
But yeah, man, that was really the best place that I could have been to start, because it was the type of business that they were doing for me was a direct translation from knocking on doors to that. When I knocked on doors, the formula was, hey, go do 30 demonstrations a day. And if you can do that, at least 2 people are going to buy from you, even if you suck, right? And then you kind of get better and better over time as you actually learn the scripts and become personable and all that. And that's exactly what I did at RGT. They were like, here's the scripts. Here's the leads that are coming in. I was a buyer's agent. So specifically, here's the buyer side leads that are coming in. Go to work. And we set up what we called a 3x3 model, which meant I called the same lead 3 times a day, 3 days in a row, until they booked an appointment or booked a restraining order. You know, that was the motto.
So what usually, when they book this restraining order, how does that go down? No, but how often did that happen where they're like, fuck off, Mr. Sproul?
Yeah, you know, it happened every day. But my skin was thick to it because these people, they inquired. Like, you inquired on a house, and now I'm following up with you to get you the information that you requested, and of course try to turn you into a buyer consultation.
Yeah.
But no, it happened every single day, man. When you're trying to get 20 contacts a day, 30 contacts a day, whatever it is, 100 a week, happens every single day.
Happens with me all the time.
Yeah.
Sellers, I go with a different agent. I hired my daughter, hired my son, not selling, blah, blah.
Yeah.
You want to get, it's so important to get rejected.
For sure, man.
It's so important. People can't do it. They can't deal with it.
Yeah.
No, I'm fine. I just want more business. But in terms of getting told no, getting rejected, I don't care. I'm a single guy.
Yeah.
I don't care if it's by women. I don't care if it's in sales.
Yeah.
Because the more you're willing to do it, and the more you realize that there's abundance, it applies to everything in life.
Right.
And the more you're willing to go out and be proactive in doing so, be proactive and looking stupid,
Yeah.
you'll get those no's.
100%.
But you'll get a hell of a lot more yeses as time goes on. So it's like, it's so healthy. It's so important to get
purely a numbers game, right? If you're calling cold leads, like you literally have nothing to lose, but your pride maybe, you know. But
shit.
but I had already had doors slammed in my face for 80 hours a week for 3 summers, you know. So having somebody hang up the phone on me, like, well, shit, next, who cares,
right.
you know. So it worked out. It was a really good translation for me, like I said, because that's what I had already been doing when I was knocking on doors. Here's the script. Here's how you get good at it. Talk to enough people. And over the course of the first 2 years was over 60 transactions by just doing that over and over and over again.
No listings, just buyers.
I probably had a couple listings, but the majority were definitely buyers.
Such a different way of doing it than I did it. And truthfully, your those first 2 years were definitely better than my first 2 years.
Yeah.
Sitting here telling you the truth.
Yeah.
I just was, and I am a lot more listing. And obviously everyone prefers the listings.
Of course.
But I've been going after the listings more.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking of like what could have been. I'm still going to do it this way.
Yeah.
Because I want to really go after the listings as much as I can.
Yeah.
Just because I also think that's where the sale really comes in, and like being able to.
And this market too.
I'm saying in
now,
terms of like because a lot of you have a buyer that wants to work with you.
Yeah.
They're going to work with you. They might not pull the trigger. They might be full of shit, but they're not necessarily thinking, well, this agent is an idiot or whatever. If you are totally incompetent of helping them find a property, or you don't answer your phone, then they'll go elsewhere.
Right.
But there's a lot. I think there's more loyalty versus with a seller. They'll tell you they'll list with you in 2 weeks, and then they go and hire someone else. There's so much other.
Yeah.
And getting the contract is when they don't know you from a hole in the wall. Meeting them and having them trust you, that's the challenging thing. So it's
For sure.
I just wonder, like I'm looking at your model of how you did it, and I wonder how that would have panned out. But I'm also really glad I've gotten listings because a lot of the buyers agents that started around the same time I did, even the ones who've done more transactions than I have, they've barely gotten any listings, and most of my deals have been listings.
Yeah. Yeah, it's awesome, man. And there are so many, in this business, there are so many different ways to build a real estate business.
Totally.
And they all work,
Right.
but just most so when I started at Keller Williams, I saw a lot of agents come in and this is, 86% of agents that get their license are out of the business within a year and a half. 86%. So no matter what brokerage somebody starts out at, there's going to be fallout, right? And I saw a ton of fallout, and I noticed a few main reasons why it kept happening. But one of them was just because a lot of people would not choose one system and get good at it. They would try a little bit of this one, not get great at it, not try it long enough to decide it doesn't work before they moved on to the next one.
So what do you suggest? I really don't have that issue, truthfully.
Yeah.
I worry maybe that I'm too much the opposite, if anything, but I don't think that's an issue. I think that's a strength. But what do you suggest in terms of how is someone supposed to know how long to do something before it's like, okay, this strategy isn't working?
Well, I guess that kind of goes to, I think, one of the other main reasons why agents fail out, which is they don't have a mentor. They don't have a guide, right? I know you mentioned you have a coach.
I do. You probably know him. Aaron Novello. Heard of him?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you do have to kind of, I think in choosing a coach or in choosing a mentor, you do want to choose somebody that knows the style of lead generating that you want to do, So my first 2 years with RGT, I was in the perfect place for that. Lee Rosa was my coach, and he had done the type of lead generating that I was doing. So I could always come back to him and say, I'm getting this kind of objection, and he would kind of help me get to that next step. When I left, and so the way that I opened Southwestern real estate, right, which people are like, why the hell is it Southwestern real estate in the southeast part of the country, in the southeast part of Florida? I was with RGT for a couple years and then got my broker's license, and I think I had posted it on LinkedIn or Facebook or something like that. And I quickly got a call from the same company that I sold with door to door when I was in college. And that company called Southwestern Advantage was like, hey, we've opened up real estate brokerages around the country. We're in Chicago, Nashville, Dallas, Houston. We have wanted to be in Florida for a long time. And then partnered with them to open up Southwestern Real Estate and did a completely different type of lead generation. The business shifted to being all referral based and network based, and to really like just being relationship based. But I then had a new mentor that was teaching me that. So I guess I'm digressing here, but to answer your question, I think you really have to have somebody that you trust, that you can talk to about, hey, why is this method not working? But if you're not doing it for at least a month or a couple months, you can't really expect to get good at it. Yeah,
totally. Yeah, no, I mean, I know that if there's been success in it, and the coaches and the people that I listen to are telling me to do what I'm doing, and they've done it and it works, it's gonna work. They're not. If they have a certain level of intelligence that I don't have, which I don't think is the case, it's more of a knowledge. It's more of an experience than anything else.
For sure.
Because most realtors, even the most successful ones, aren't necessarily scholastic or aren't some kind of savant. I'm not saying there aren't very intelligent agents.
Right.
Okay, but it's not. This isn't neuroscience, right? So.
Right.
I think it just comes down to understanding what needs to be done and actually doing it, and having the mental fortitude to continue to do it, even when you're not seeing the results you want.
And on the other side of the spectrum, you've got other agents that are the most outgoing, bubbly people in the world that were probably super popular in high school, right? But that does not make a great real estate agent either, right? It's like you can... No matter what your personality type is, whether you are the most intelligent or not, follow a formula.
Right.
Somebody teaches you a great formula, follow that formula, be coachable, listen to that person, and it's going to work, There's plenty of people that don't know how to talk to people well, don't know how to conversate well, but if you do it every single day, then you're going to get good at it,
100%. I don't know. I wonder what it is though. So, for instance, with the calls, I started doing calls when I was doing loans.
Okay.
I was doing high interest loans. I actually did an episode about this. I debated this guy who still does it. Great episode. You got to check it out.
Okay.
I went really hard on him. He was debating me. We were going back and forth. I did the high interest, crazy interest rate loans.
Yeah.
So I was very familiar with cold calling, but it was a different kind of cold call. Wasn't as easygoing and all that. It really wasn't great.
Yeah.
So, but because I had the experience doing thousands of calls before real estate, when it came to making calls in real estate, I was like, all right, let's do this.
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of other people are very scared to do it. They'll do anything not to call. Anything.
Yeah. People get into this business not knowing it's a sales job.
They have such a delusion as to what it is. It's crazy.
They watch a lot of Selling Sunset.
Right.
They watch a lot of $1 Million Listing.
Yep. It's really funny.
Yeah.
But so what has allowed you to go from working with as many buyers as you had and having 60 transactions your first 2 years to now opening, and remind me, you said it was Southwestern
Real Estate. Yeah. Okay. So what the Southwestern family of companies has done really well. So that's the same company that taught me how to sell door to door when I was in college. When somebody finishes with that company and says, hey, I'm graduating college, I'm never knocking on another freaking door again, I'm done. They eventually, with the people that they really like, that do really well, they eventually will say, well, what do you want to go do? 15 years ago, somebody said, I'm going to go get into real estate. And they said, okay, perfect. We want to retain our talent. Let's open a real estate company. So there's now, I think, like 25 companies in this big umbrella of companies that most of them all started with somebody who knocked on doors when they were in college. And then went and opened up a Raymond James office, or, all these different types of sales companies.
Raymond James, I've never heard of it.
Financial advising.
Okay.
So there's a financial advising company. There's a couple different types of insurance companies. Just any job where people can kind of overcome and do high volume in sales. There's a sales consulting company that does really well, Southwestern Consulting. But yeah, so when I decided to kind of take that leap and they said, hey, we want to be in Florida, we want to open a brokerage up in Florida, they started mentoring me in a completely different way than what I was used to. It was just all build by relationships, build by referral. And they said, the negotiation was that no matter what happens in the state of Florida, it's all under you. Like you run Florida. So it wasn't sexy for what it could be in 2 years. It was sexy for what it could be in 5 or 10 years, when you're opening up little offices all over the state and trying to grow that thing out. And so that's kind of where we're at now. My time is still 75% of my time is still me working on my business. The other 25% of my time is coaching the other agents on my team that are spread throughout the state of Florida. And the goal was, let's not just build a team right here in Florida. Let's sprinkle people throughout the state that eventually will be able to kind of grow their own teams and their own offices throughout the state.
Okay. So you have people all over the state.
Uh-huh.
Do you have brick and mortar actual offices, or it's all virtual if they're...
No, yeah. We have a brick and mortar here in South Florida in Hollywood. But when we start out just kind of sprinkling one person, right? Putting one person in one city and saying, hey, I'm going to coach and mentor you from afar to build this thing up so that you can then start spreading out and building it up under you. They'll usually just work from home to start. And then eventually the goal is that they would start kind of building their own team out. So 2018 was when I opened the brokerage. The first year and a half was just me restarting my business. Mm-hmm. When you build your business by relationship and by referral rather than by cold leads, what I liked about cold leads was that it is very formulaic and you can go on a linear path just upward. Mm-hmm. Building by relationship and by referral is not like that. It's very, very slow to start, and then it kind of exponentially grows. And so that's what happened over the first couple years working with this other company. Mm-hmm. And after about 2 years was when I said, all right, I've got this side of the business figured out. Let's start bringing other agents in. And so we've kind of just grown in the last 2 years from 1 to like 11 of us.
Wow, that's fantastic.
It's been fun, man. We grow. We typically, like, our interview process is very slow. It's a 5-step process to really figure out if somebody's the right fit or not. But it really like gives me the opportunity to see if somebody's truly gonna be coachable and hardworking. And mm-hmm. we just don't have the time to sit here and pour into people that are not serious.
That's kind of a quarrel that I have. I'll say it here. Yeah. Just to put. I don't know if it's a whole Keller Williams thing. My quarrel with Keller Williams is that they're too accepting of agents, I think. I don't think that they're selective enough. And I think they know that. So it's not specifically Aventura. I think it's just more of that kind of style.
Yeah.
I'm not so bothered by it, only because I don't really pay much attention to the newer agents. Not in a rude way. I'll be friendly to them, but I'm not going to sit there and have a whole discussion, because if I can help them, if there's something they ask me for, it depends on what it is. I have to, think about my time.
Right.
But if it's a quick question, I really want to help them out.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I want to do business with other agents that have been there, that are experienced, that know more than me, that are better than me, that I can collaborate with. If it's someone who's brand new, the likelihood is they're probably going to fall out at some point. And if I'm going to go and spend all my time with them, it doesn't make sense. Yeah. So, and I know there are other brokerages that don't do that, and they're a lot more selective in who they bring in.
I would say, though, that I think most big name brokerages are more along the lines of what KW does, and that it's usually. I mean, when I went to
Compass, like Compass or Douglas Elliman, they probably do accept a lot of random new people, but it seems like they're a little more selective.
Douglas Elliman's a little different.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're kind of hold themselves up on a little bit of a higher, but when I interviewed, I went to. I think when I first started, I went to KW, Kai's, Weichert, I think Remax. I think all of them tried to get me to sign on the dotted line the first day, and that's that's the model. If you know that a large percentage are just going to fail out, then I can't blame them for keeping that model. The difference for me is that I am one man, and every single agent that I bring in is directly under me. I am their mentor. I pour into them. I hold a sales meeting every week, and I have one-on-ones with these agents every single week. So I simply I don't have the time to work with somebody who hasn't proven to me over a 5-step interview process that they are serious about wanting to build a great business. You know, there's not enough time in a day for that.
I hear you. I totally hear you. I don't think I'd have the patience for it personally. And you never know with people.
Yeah.
You really never know where they're going to end up, you know. Yeah, that's the kind of business we're in.
And that's true, but with our interview process, like, I'm giving people tasks throughout that process to see how quickly they respond and how quickly they get it done. Now, I will say to people in the process, like, hey, this goes at whatever speed you want it to go at, right? What I need you to do tonight is write out answers to a bunch of these questions and take this disc test. And then whenever you get all this stuff done, go ahead and send it back to me. And that's when we'll schedule our next interview. But take your time. Like, whatever timeline works for you is totally fine. And I do mean that when I say it, but I want to know what their sense of urgency is.
Oh, you want to see how, yeah. Like, a lot of them probably take their sweet ass time.
They do, yeah. And I mean, if you took your sweet ass time because you have a bunch of other stuff going on and you have really, like, performed well on these tasks that I'm throwing out, then I'm like, all right, they're still coachable. Let's keep moving. But there's plenty of times that I think before I brought my first agent into the brokerage, I sat down with like 15 agents. And that was just a combination of them not being the right fit for me and me not being the right fit for them, So we got to be selective about that now.
Interesting. Fair.
Yeah.
No, I completely agree with you.
Yeah.
So what do you think now, kind of going into the market?
Yeah.
What do you think is going to happen now with agents? Now that you mentioned the turnover rate at 86%. I hear it's in the first year.
Right.
Now that everyone's talking about this bubble bursting and inflation and mortgage rates and whatnot, what do you think is going to happen with agents in the next 3 to 6 months?
Yeah.
And what do you think that'll mean for the market in terms of how many, if say half of the agents drop out, even if we have fewer sales, that'll mean each agent would have more business, hopefully.
I don't think 3 to 6 months is gonna make a huge difference personally. And I think it's just, and I probably differ from maybe some other people that you talk to about where I think our market's going here in South Florida too. We know that there are shifts beginning to happen in other places in the country, right? And there are places around the country that I talk to other agents where they're saying, we are not seeing 20 offers anymore. We're seeing 10 or 5 now, right? We're seeing more price reductions, whatever it is. I know the last couple single family homes that I've listed here in South Florida are still getting 15, 20 offers on them. And the condos obviously have a lot more inventory, but they're still getting 5 in a lot of cases. So, and I'm talking about after interest rates have already gone up 2.5 points. So I don't think we're at the point yet where over the next 3 to 6 months, we're going to see a bunch of agents get shaken out. I wish we would. Because, I mean,
I'm kind of down to see that.
Dude, as you, before we jumped on camera here, I was just telling you about a nightmare deal that I'm going through where an agent is just not following a timeline at all. Like the most unprofessional agent I've ever worked with. And I have no choice but to do half
business
of this person's, and also half of their job.
The work you're doing, all the work.
Yeah.
By the way, real quick,
Yeah.
Let's stay on topic, but I just wanted to go into that quickly.
Yeah.
So just for further explanation, Nick is working with a very difficult client. A very difficult real estate agent who doesn't have any experience, and now because none of the timelines were met throughout the process, on the listing side, he has no choice but to hold escrow, to take escrow from the buyer. Yeah. So I have never experienced that. This is your first time experiencing
This
that.
is my first in a few hundred deals. This is the first time I've never been on the buyer side and had a buyer lose their escrow ever. And I've never been on the seller side and had to go after somebody else's escrow.
So how does this happen? How does it work? Because it's obviously not a comfortable thing to do.
We're gonna
Is
find
your
out.
but did your seller? Did you tell your seller to do it, or was your seller the one who was like, I want that money?
No,
Whatever.
I told my seller we have the right to do this.
And your seller was like, let's go.
Yeah, yeah. Because I mean, we've just had so much time wasted on this transaction. We gave them a longer closing period to begin with. They didn't follow the timeline of.
What were the terms?
It was
You don't
like
have to say the price.
It was like a 45-day closing.
Okay.
On a condo, and we knew that this is a difficult condo association, so we gave 45 days. We said, get your
financing.
Yeah. Within the first 5 days, you're supposed to get your stuff into the association. You're supposed to get your application in, as long as the seller has initiated it, and we got them an application right away. They didn't do that on time. It was like 3 weeks in before they got an application into the association. Didn't do an inspection in the first 7 days, which we had a 7-day inspection period on. I counteroffered.
How long did it take before they did an inspection?
They did an inspection after like 2.5 weeks. This is the only time this has ever happened to me. 7-day inspection, and on like day 10, she sends me an email with an extension to the inspection period addendum, and is like, hey, we may need an extension to this because this happened or whatever. The buyer wasn't available. And I was like, you may go do an inspection if you want to, but like, we are well beyond your inspection period here. You are way too late to negotiate this. If you would have came to me a few days before your inspection period ended and been like, we can't get an inspector out here, can we get an extra couple days? I would have been like, yes, we'll make this work for you, But it was the blatant lack of communication and disregard for the timelines that were set. Like, you don't belong in this industry. I'm sorry. You're
totally
playing with people's money, man.
Totally.
It's their biggest purchase in most cases. Loan commitment period, I had counteroffered them from 30 days down to 21.
But what happened with this? What happened? So they did the inspection, but
they did not try to negotiate anything.
Right.
Because,
nothing's going to happen.
Yeah. Like, I was like, you can go do an inspection if you want.
Don't come back to me with any complaints.
No.
Which in theory was it's not ideal, but in theory, it's like, well, now if there is any kind of issue, it's you guys are moving forward.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they were probably like just about at their loan commitment period by that point,
It's insane.
It is insane. And so, the title company lined up closing with the seller last Friday. And so the seller closed virtually, and the buyer was supposed to close on Monday. And I reach out to the title company like, hey, has buyer already signed? What's going on? The buyer was never scheduled to sign. Just blatant. Their lender is having all kinds of problems communicating with the association, but that's, extension should have been requested a week ago, and it wasn't. So now we have no choice. Like, this is you can't.
So how do you go about that?
Like
so how do you go and do it? Because I want to know what to do in this situation.
We need to send an email to the title company and say, we are making a claim on this escrow. Here's the reason why. And I'll probably copy the other agent on that email, and be like, hey, just go, do whatever you need to do. Go call your broker, and I'll explain to your broker why you've lost your buyer's money. I like to give people chances, but
that buyer is going to flip on that agent. I mean, could be the buyer is a difficult fucking person.
That's
Sounds
100%
like
possible.
But still, it is what it is.
Yeah.
I would freak out, man. If I was a buyer's agent and I had a buyer and they weren't meeting terms, I'd be like, listen, I understand whatever's happening to you is happening to you.
Yeah.
And if I just saw the person just didn't give a shit, I'd be like, listen, you're going to lose your escrow. There's nothing I can do about it.
Yeah.
If we don't meet terms, this is what's going to happen. And at the end of the day, if that person didn't want to take any accountability and blame me, what can you do? But when I see, I see when these like timelines are met, I get kind of anxious. I want to make sure they're done because I use a TC, but I always want to make sure that everything's done. Because at the end of the day, who doesn't want to close as early as possible?
Right.
Everyone in the transaction, seemingly, aside from this story,
everybody
wants to close, right? The realtors want to close and make the money. The buyer and seller want to close as soon as possible.
Yeah.
I don't really get. It's weird to me.
Yeah, no, it's the strangest one ever. I mean, in 29 deals in the first year as a rookie agent, I never stepped outside of timelines.
It's an amazing first year, man. 29
thank you,
deals.
man.
Fantastic. Wow. Many realtors have one, maybe two, their first year.
Yeah, it was a freaking grind. The team was, I mean, I was every weekend, every other night, whatever. Like I was showing properties every night and calling all day long. I got to a point, I remember getting to a point where I would jump on a phone call with Lee and be like, man, I have 6 buyer consultations lined up tomorrow. Like it was such a numbers game. Out of the 20, so here's even more fun food for thought. 29 deals closed, but 48 put together. That's painful right there. I mean, it's nice to be able to say I put together that many deals, but dude, I lost so many deals. I had so many deals fall apart because I was so eager to put deals together that I probably put deals together where I didn't look into the financing enough, and so the financing fell through. I didn't know how to negotiate an inspection. I didn't know how to prepare the buyer in advance for what's negotiable and what's not negotiable in an inspection, or what happens when an appraisal comes in low, right? Like all of this was just learning little by little by little. We used to say, like, let's make a folder called the "Don't Let It Happen Again" folder. And I still use that with my agents. Like anytime an agent messes up, it started off as the "Don't Let It Happen Again" folder. 48 deals put together, 29 of them closed. Just had a ton of deals fall through because I didn't know what I was doing, but was eager to put deals together, and tried to learn from every single one of them. And now I can't tell you, I don't know, 1 out of every 15 deals falls apart now. But at that point, that was like more than 25% of my deals falling apart. Damn, dude. You live and you learn. But the opportunity that it gave me working with this team was so many at-bats, so many people to talk to over and over and over again, so many opportunities to screw up, That's what everybody needs.
100%. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
What do you suggest? Yeah, I mean, you need to screw up as much as possible.
Yeah.
The more you do, the more you get them. The more you get what you need.
It's those, and whatever, like I said, whatever you're going to choose as your lead generation model, right? Like if you're going to call buyer leads online, like do that. If you're going to call expired listings or, FSBOs or whatever, if you're going to build by referral, whatever, like you need to do this over and over again every day as many times as possible, or you never get good at those conversations.
Totally.
That's just what it takes. It was, like I said, if I didn't have appointments, if I wasn't in showings, I called all day. That's just what I did.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing now.
Yeah.
What do you suggest as a buyer's agent? I know do you have the consultation? You ask the questions.
Yeah.
Because I notice I just have a bunch of buyers that I'm working with, and they're great people. So if they happen to be listening, fantastic. But in the past couple of months, I mean, really since I started my career.
Yeah.
And it's not that I want to blame them, or I'm not bitter.
Yeah.
But a lot of them are just not, they'll come to you with this sense of urgency. And then when you go and do the work, they're just not really down. They're not ready. They're not interested. I think it's partially a fear. You also have to ask the right questions.
Yep.
But a nice amount of my buyers have been either people I know or mutual friends or people that know someone I know.
Yeah.
And you want to help them because you want to also show that whoever referred you did the right thing, right? So if I have a friend, Sam, and Sam's a good friend of mine, and Sam says, hey, my friend Danny wants to buy a house. I want to show Danny that Sam made a good suggestion. Right? I want everyone to be happy here. My reputation's on the line, all that. I want to do well by this person. So I go into it and I ask them questions, but I don't want to be too, obviously I want to ask them if they're financing cash, proof of funds, pre-approval, the whole 9 yards, why are you moving, all that information. But it's like at some point I don't want to gauge too much if I know them. Yeah. So
you're not doing anybody any favors by not being blunt with them about what's happening in this market.
I do tell them this. I totally tell them this. the difficulty, I 100% tell them
Yeah.
where the market is holding.
Yeah.
Especially if they're looking for something that's not realistic.
Right.
Maybe some of them get offended. They don't tell me. They don't say anything to me.
Yeah.
They seem to take it well. I think maybe they want me to throw confetti on them.
Yeah.
I find that with some of them, especially the first-time buyers, is they need to experience a lost offer, or they need to go and try to buy it on their own, or some other nonsense. And then eventually they see that, oh, Rafi actually was right. It's like, no shit, buddy.
Yeah.
Because maybe, I don't know what it is. Maybe for people, they think I'm trying to push them into something. They don't know me yet, whatever it is. But they know in the back of their minds what the market is how things are going.
Yeah.
So I think, yeah.
You're right about, like, some people do just have to experience a loss, and of course it does depend on what price point people are at. But if you can say, like, whether it's your listing or somebody else's listing in your office or whatever, if you can say, hey, I just listed this property for $400,000 and it went at 110% of list price, and we got 21 offers, and we got a couple offers that were waiving appraisal. Mm-hmm. That's what wins at this price point, and that's what I have another offer right now at eight something, and we can't lock something up at 8 something without waiving appraisal either. Like, it's kind of happening at every price point right now. So just speaking from experience, man, and like I said, just being as blunt as possible with people. But some people, yeah, they do need to feel the pain of it first. Part of the conversation that you have to have a lot of times is partially dependent on what you believe is going to happen with this market, right? Like, if in your mind you think that our prices are going to come down over the next year, it's going to be a lot harder for you to say to somebody why it's a better option to buy now than to wait a year, right? Because of the supply and demand of our market, I believe we're still going to be rising for a couple years.
I think it comes down to motivation. I was talking to my coach about this. I was talking I was in a clubhouse meeting. Every Wednesday I'm in a clubhouse meeting.
Yeah.
People are always going to be buying and selling.
Always.
We don't know what's going to happen with prices in the next few months or even in the next few years. What we do know is mortgage rates are going up. Why are you looking to buy a house? It comes down to motivation. Yeah. There's always, so to speak, a deal. You might not find some crazy reduced price. If you want something nice, it's going to cost you.
Yeah.
But what's causing you to move here?
Yeah.
You're moving from New York. You want a house with more space. You want a house with more room. You're going to get it more than you will in New York, most likely, unless you move to, I don't know if you know New York well. I grew up there.
No.
But there's certain areas that are more suburban or even rural areas in the country, upstate New York. But and those are cheaper. But in Florida, you can actually get a garage for under $1 million.
Yeah, man.
In New York, it's not very doable.
Yeah.
So people are like, oh my God, the prices. It's like, well, because it's in demand. So they know this. They understand why it's like this subconsciously. But there's just a lot of people are in denial. And I think I've worked with a lot of first-time home buyers, young couples, who this is very tough for them. So if they're making a purchase, they want something nice. They kind of want their dream house, even though they can't really afford it.
Yeah.
And it's very hard for them to accept that this house may not likely be their dream house. Maybe the second one or the third one, but they're going to have to settle if they actually want to buy something. And I think it's a denial a lot of the time where they're not willing to accept the reality of it.
Yeah.
And it's almost as the realtor, you have to be the person, you have to be the voice of reason, or you have to have the come to Jesus talk, as Aaron Novello loves saying.
Yep.
And a lot of them don't want to come to either. Well, if they're Jewish, come to Moses, but they don't want to. They're like, I want my house. It's like, well, I'm sorry,
luck, man.
Like, unless you have somebody throwing cash at you, I want a lot of shit.
Prices are up 20%. Dude, when I was about to buy my first house, in like 2017 or something, I was thinking to myself like, maybe I should wait. Maybe the market's finally gonna come down. Right? That was 2017, man. So I bought in 2018, and the equity gains over, to 2022 are just crazy,
unbelievable.
Man.
What'd you buy it for?
$350.
What do you think it's worth
in
now?
Hollywood Hills
Sevens.
neighborhood.
Oh, Hollywood Hills.
Yeah.
Oh, you get double your money right now.
Yeah, it's probably
Sixes?
It's probably like 6, yeah. Something
Still
like that.
A great, incredible return. Yeah.
Yeah, in 4 years, man. And that's, you don't wait and buy real estate. You buy real estate and wait. I was gonna say, as far as like checking on motivation of your buyers, one of the things that was taught to me and that I still teach is like the 2 out of 3 rule. Have you heard of this?
Which one?
Like when you're setting up a search with your buyer, because I always do that in the buyer consultation, right? I don't just go through the process and then say, okay, go home, I'll set the search up for you. I set the search up live with them so that they can see the numbers of houses that are available dwindling down until potentially maybe it gets down to 4 houses or something. They're like, holy shit, like maybe I am unrealistic, right? So typically there's 3 factors that affect what we can buy. You get to choose 2 out of 3, and the market's going to determine the third, right? There's the price. We know we have to stay under a certain price. This is what you're approved for, unless a family member's going to come help.
Come to think of it, Lee has spoken about this.
Yeah, man. It's super helpful to be able to help people open their mind a little bit. Price, location, and condition. If you have to stay in this price range and you have to be in this location, well, the market's going to tell us what conditions available.
Right.
So are you open to expanding price or location or condition? And sometimes you can get people to spout their true motivation to you and that they're okay with a different neighborhood or
they're open, or they can raise price,
or they can change their bedrooms and bathroom.
Come to think of it, man, I have an older couple now, and they're quite well off. Yeah. And they can go up in price. They're by no means in a rush. So that's kind of what's always tough with clients like that, is like they can buy now or they can buy in 5 years. Yeah. But they came to me. It was a referral. It was, so we'll see what happens. They're great, really sweet people. Yeah. And I'm here to help them. I'm not going to run after them because clearly they're not looking to buy necessarily right now. Right. But I have to have that conversation with them.
Here's the thing. You're always going to have, if you're somebody who works with buyers and not just sellers, right? You're always going to have A buyers in your pipeline that are ready, willing, and able. You're going to have B buyers that are maybe ready and willing but not able, or ready and able but not willing, or whatever. And C buyers that are maybe only 1 out of the 3, right? Right. It's okay to have a bunch of B and C buyers in your pipeline as long as you have enough A's in your pipeline. You know what I mean? So it's okay that not every single buyer in your pipeline is ready, willing, and able. As long as you're following up enough, you're communicating enough, it's okay if somebody's going to sit on the sidelines. You can't change everybody's motivation. But when you have an abundance of leads, you don't have to be concerned about that.
So that's what Aaron says. Aaron Novello says, when you generate, you don't have to tolerate.
Yes.
And it's so vital, and that's why I call my ass off, because 2 reasons. First off, naturally, when you have an abundance of business, you have less of a need to really focus on people that aren't motivated. Yeah. But you also, things I think are more natural, where you go into the appointment, you go into the meeting with a much more relaxed attitude.
100%.
Because you understand that if this person isn't willing to move forward, so be it.
Yep. It's what we always refer to it in our brokerage as a buying atmosphere. Like allowing, whether you're talking to a buyer or a seller, just allowing people to shop with no pressure, right? Whether they're buying or they're shopping you as a listing agent, right? When you have this deal falling apart, it sucks. I hate that for my seller, but it is not going to change my month very much because there's a bunch of other deals in the pipeline.
I haven't had any, actually. I haven't had that many deals. I haven't had a decent amount. Yeah. Nothing crazy. But none of them have fallen apart. Right. That I can think of. I've had, awesome, man. What I mean by that is, no, I wouldn't say none of them fell apart, but it wasn't later on into the trend. It was right away. It was the buyer backed out. In the inspection beforehand. It wasn't they couldn't get loan commitment, or 30 days in something happens. Crazy. There were deals that were very close to falling apart, which quite frankly I brought back. I needed the other agent to help. Thank God I've had, for the most part, I've worked with solid agents. Good. We're very fortunate about that, actually. Some of them were pretty difficult. None of them were necessarily bad. They were just they were lazy. Yeah. They weren't responsive. That's something I noticed that in Florida, and I'm sure it's not like this in New York as much. Yeah. People in New York are a lot hungrier and more aggressive. Floridians, the agents are, well, I'll get back to you.
Yeah.
I'm paddleboarding now on Tuesday at 3 p.m. It's like, don't ship.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. Well, and that's why everybody jokes, like, you move to South Florida, you get your driver's license, and you get your real estate license, because, like, everybody and their mom has a freaking real estate license. 80-something thousand agents in South Florida.
Well,
right?
that's kind of why I'm not anti half of them dropping out.
Right, yeah,
It also
and I'm
will make
totally fine with that.
It'll make the industry look better, hopefully.
Yeah.
If you have,
Agreed, and that's the time to take market share, I think we're still going to be in a strong market for a while, and that a lot of these agents that only do 1 or 2 deals a year are going to stick around for a little bit. I don't know when it's going to happen, but I think we're a couple years from that. You
don't think now is when they're going to fall out?
No. And the only reason I say that is because I think prices are going to continue to appreciate for a while. Mm-hmm. I don't think you go from 20% year over year appreciation down to flat appreciation. I think you need to go to 15 first and then 10 first. Mm-hmm. But I watch every single month what the year over year trends come out to. And in like December, it was like 19. And in January, it was like 20. And in March, it was 21. That means appreciation in March was still
higher.
Climbing,
right.
And eventually appreciation has to lower long before you can get to depreciation, right? Like, unless something catastrophic happens. Does that make sense? Like us going down from 21 to 10 in appreciation, if your house appreciated by 10% this year, for most people that would still be freaking awesome, because 3 or 4 or 5% is pretty normal. So it's going to take us a long time, I think, to get back to normal before we ever see any kind of price dip. I do think there's going to be slightly less real estate transactions being done throughout this process. But I don't think it's going to be that quick of a shift down here. There's nowhere else to build houses. We're pretty built up from Ocean to Everglades. We're not getting any more houses. Broward County's got 100 people every single day moving to it, and 1,000 people a day moving to South Florida. And 1,000 people moving to Florida. Sorry about that.
1,000 people moving, crazy.
To Florida every single day. We're the second most moved to state in the country right now, behind Texas. The 5 hottest commercial real estate markets in America are in Florida, and 5 of the most moved to cities in America in the top 15 are in Florida.
Let's see if it gets Tampa. It would probably be Tampa, Orlando, Miami. It's 3 of them, right?
Yep.
Let's see if I can guess the rest.
Yeah.
Is Jacksonville in it?
Yep.
Okay. And then I would probably say, when we say Miami, we're talking about the whole. Would it be?
Are you talking about on residential side now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would it be Fort Lauderdale?
Yeah. Yeah.
So those the 5 or
no?
No,
Wait. So sorry. The 5 most popular commercial, the 5 fastest growing commercial markets are the top 5 in the country, are all in Florida.
Okay.
The first 4 that you just said are
Orlando,
4 that are in the top 15 for residential.
Residential, okay.
For residential appreciation. Tampa was the fastest, highest appreciation year over year behind Austin. So it was number 2. Tampa was like 30% year over year appreciation. That's insane. And Miami was like 28.
It's crazy.
Yeah. So
it's wild. And what's happening is all the tri-staters, meaning tri-state, Pennsylvania, New York, and New Jersey. Okay, they're all neighboring each other.
Yeah.
You have everyone coming down to South Florida, right? So what's happening is you have everyone coming down,
straight down 95,
moving up,
baby.
yeah, right, moving up to moving down to the south side.
Yeah.
And then the locals from South Florida that have been here for years can't afford the increase in everything.
Right.
So they're moving up either to northern Florida, Jacksonville, Tallahassee, Orlando, Orlando isn't even as cheap anymore.
Right.
But, if you go to the boondocks all the way up north, you can find something cheaper.
They still got room to build there, you know.
Right, there's still room.
There's small cities that are getting closer and closer together in Orlando because they still got some land in between them that they can keep building.
Right.
And that shit is not going to stop anytime soon.
No, it's going to keep. But then for the people who really want the cheaper prices,
Yeah.
they're going up to Georgia, the Carolinas, and even there, those areas are growing now a lot. So it's just interesting.
Everywhere, and it's not just even states that have negative population growth, like Illinois has negative population growth, their prices are still increasing. So figure that out. It's because between 2010 and 2020, there were only like 5 million homes built in America. A normal decade has 25 to 30 million homes built in America. But yeah, I mean, it's just the shortage is everywhere, even states with negative population growth, just because as millennials finally started making money and getting ready to buy their first houses, there were not enough houses for them because there was only 5 million homes built in America in the decade from 2010 to 2020. That's 5 times less than a normal decade. After the crash, everybody was scared to build, you know?
It's wild.
Yeah. Hence the housing shortage we got going on nationwide, even in states where people are moving out, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So they're all coming here, driving our prices up, you know?
and driving like maniacs.
I'm okay with it. And I'm buying real estate in this market right now. I got new construction under contract in Kissimmee. Don't wait and buy real estate. Buy real estate and wait.
What'd you buy in Kissimmee? Or Kissimmee, however you say it.
I got new construction, a 3.5 townhouse under contract. That's in Margaritaville. So it's like a resort, but with townhouses on it, and it'll be used most of the time for vacation rental.
Okay.
And then
Airbnb, things like that.
Yep. Yeah, they got a couple property managers on site. From the time we went under contract, probably 4 or 5 months ago to now, where its property still hasn't been built yet. We got a few months from completion. It's probably appreciated by $100,000 without even being built yet. I'm not saying that this run is gonna be like this forever. I'm just saying as long as you don't over leverage yourself, buy properties and hold them. You know.
Totally. Yeah. No, that makes very much sense.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Mr. Sproul.
Yeah, it's been fun, man.
It sure has. Good schmooze. I look forward to reconnecting.
Yeah, man.
And hanging out more often.
Sounds good.
Hopefully doing some business together.
Looking forward to it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, ladies and gents, hope you enjoyed the 94th episode. I'm very proud to say that. 94th episode of the Soothing Semantics podcast. Subscribe to the podcast. Don't finish the episode and not subscribe. Press the subscribe button.
Definitely.
Like the podcast, like the episode, share your thoughts. Nick does have a very nice fresh cut, so make sure to leave your comments on it. I hope the headphones didn't screw anything up.
Oh man, no, I kept them on the back. So
looking fresh and clean, my dude. So, guys, make sure to tune in to 94th episode of the Soothing Semantics podcast, coming out on Sundays at 9 a.m. Eastern as usual, and I will see you guys next time.